welcome you all in today's most interesting and my personal favorite subject, economics lecture by the most energetic and enthusiastic Madhusudan Sharma sir. So, let's begin today's session with a positive mindset and a beautiful quote that is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. What we have is today. So, learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. With this, thank you and over to you.
Thank you very much, Madhvi. A very good afternoon to all of you. I hope audio, video, everything is clear. Just confirm. Okay, thank you, Rohit Vitesh, for the confirmation. And the quote that yesterday is history, tomorrow is mystery. So this is much more relevant in UPSC context because there might be some off days for you, and do not keep on pondering over that, or especially newspaper. In that context, many a times it will happen that on few days, on few occasions, you will not be able to cover the newspaper. Simply leave it. If you keep on running after those things which have been left, probably you will not be able to complete the things which are supposed to be done today. So only after completing the things which was supposed to be done today, you should go after the things of the past. But the same would not be applicable in case of economics lecture. In case of economics lecture, everything which I will teach today have high chances of being used tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So you should not miss any of those lectures, and you must always complete the lecture that you missed before coming to the next class. Okay. Yeah, we shall look into a few things which were there in the last class. First, let me recall. Please help me, you people, what all things that we had studied in the last class. Just type it down. Let me recall. You answer those things. We had first studied law of demand. So, what is law of demand? Simple terms. Tell me law of demand. Price increases, demand decreases. Law of supply. Please tell me law of supply. Yes, Dipanshu, you are right. Price and demand are inversely related. Law of supply. Price increases, supply increases. Yes, you are right. In this context, we had made the demand curve as well. Demand curve and supply curve. Then we have found out the market equilibrium. There was a few student who has raised doubt to me that they were not able to understand. So I will explain it briefly again. This is simply supply curve. This would be demand curve. This would be market equilibrium. At the market equilibrium, the price would be market price, and the quantity would be the quantity demanded would be equal to quantity supplied. Okay, this you can term as the quantities available in the market quantity. Okay, at times it may happen that some, like, government decided that artificially increase the price. And this is this is demand curve, and this is supply curve. So if government artificially increase the price, this is the price, maybe P1. So at P1, this is the quantity which is demanded, Q1D, or this is the quantity which is supplied, because at this price, since the price is higher, the supplier is interested in supplying more quantity, whereas because the prices are higher, the consumer are not demanding that much of quantity. So there would be a gap between the demand and supply. In this scenario, supply is more. This Q1S is more than Q1D. Since supply is more, we are saying it as excess supply. A few of you had a problem in understanding this. Is it clear now? Only those people reply who had problem yesterday. This price, which is the maximum price which has been set by the government, is called as price floor. Clear? Similar thing will happen if the prices are artificially kept low. Again, this may be P2. At P2, the quantity which a supplier is interested in supplying is Q2S. Because the prices are low, the supplier is not interested in supplying this much of quantity. And since the prices are low, the consumer is demanding more. Consumer is saying that give me more. So Q2D is the demand. There is this gap. This gap would be known as excess demand, because demand is more, Q2D is more. This is more than supply. Since demand is more, there is an excess demand. Is it clear, Smruti? Is there any confusion? Please let me know. Just this. आशीष गिफ एंड गुड पे भी आएंगे. ठीक है, तो प्राइस फ्लोर and this is price ceiling. Now someone might get confused कि फ्लोर तो नीचे होता है जमीन पे and ceiling ऊपर होता है. ठीक है, but you are saying that price floor is the minimum price. Price ceiling is the maximum price. तो ये याद रखने के लिए आप ऐसे याद रख सकते हो, सीलिंग छत पे होता है तो दैट इज द मैक्सिमम लिमिट above which the price cannot go. फ्लोर जमीन पे होता है, so below which you cannot go. So price floor is minimum price. Price ceiling is maximum price. Now the confusion that might have occurred in your mind is कि sir, this price ceiling is less than price floor, तो how can maximum price be less than minimum price? किसी के मन में ये डाउट आ रहा है? Anyone having this doubt? That how is it the case that maximum price is less than the minimum price? Then the answer is that, see, if government, think from the government perspective, or let me give you a real, usually either government will decide a price floor for some quantity or government will decide price ceiling for some quantity. Government will never decide both for any quantity. For example, we have MSP for wheat, right? This is price floor का example था, MSP or wheat. In that case, there is no price ceiling. The maximum price can be anything. So if for any quantity price floor is declared, its price can be anything more than P1. From here to here, anything can be the price. For some other quantity, price ceiling would be decided. For example, for urea. For urea, fertilizer, price ceiling would be decided. So for those quantity, the price could be anything less than P2. Obviously not less than 0. So from here to 0, the price could be anything. So for the same quantity, price ceiling and price floor would not be declared. If for a quantity price floor is declared, its price can be anything more than P1. And if for a quantity price ceiling is decided, its price could be anything less than P2. Okay, now think from a government's perspective. If, for example, wheat is being sold in the market, yes, you are right. MRP is an example of price ceiling. Yes, you are right. Very right, Muskan. Price ceiling is MRP, maximum price is written on the good, but a company or a retailer is free to give discount, and he can sell at, say, MRP is rupees 100, he can sell at 80, 20, 90, 50, whatever price that is profitable to him, but he cannot go beyond this MRP. Okay. Let's see a practical example. For example, in case of wheat, the market price is rupees 15 per kg. The government is considering that rupees 15 per kg is less. The farmers are not getting their due if the wheat is being sold at rupees 15 per kg. So government will set a price higher than this. The government will set that you should sell wheat at rupees 20 per kg. Okay, so minimum price government will set always higher than the market price. Someone might have this doubt, this as well. Can price floor be less than the market price? Theoretically, yes, but practically it has no utility. For example, if everyone is selling wheat as rupees 15 per kg, if government comes with a law that no one will sell wheat at a price less than rupees 10 per kg. No one is anyway selling wheat at a price less than rupees 10 per kg. So any such price floor has meaning or has significance only if this price is more than market price, because nothing is going to be sold below market price anyway. Is it clear? Similarly, for the price ceiling as well, if price ceiling is being, for example, the price of something is rupees 15 per kg, and government is saying that no one will sell it at a price above rupees 20 per kg. This order has no significance, because anyway everyone is selling at rupees 15 per kg. The order will make sense only if government says that no one will sell urea at a price more than rupees 10 per kg. So price ceiling has to be less than market price for making any practical sense. Yes, I have written it. MSP is an example of price floor. Just look at all the things which are written on the board. दीपांशु, ये थोड़ा सा appreciable nahi hai that you are simply saying repeat everything. Please ask specifically. I will sum up everything. Sir, please explain question number 1 which you are mentioned in your Telegram channel. Why option 1 and 3 are incorrect? ठीक है, उसको क्लास के लास्ट में देख लेंगे. पहले इसको देख लो आप. Government perspective, minimum price to support and maximum price to control. Can we look at in this? Yes, बिल्कुल सही. अच्छा, you can definitely look at if government sets a maximum price, it would be for the purpose of controlling something. Price ceiling would have the objective of controlling the price. For example, the price of medicines, the government wants to control the price of medicine. And price floor government will have when wants to support the producer. So consumer would always want that government impose some kind of price ceiling, and the producer would always want that government impose some kind of price floor. Is it clear? So let me see what was there on the Telegram channel. Which option do you have problem with? Question number 1. Which statement? Statement 1 and 3, Vivek. Answer is 2 and 4 are correct. So statement 1 is saying as the price of good increases, the quantity demanded also increases. So this is against law of demand. As the price of good increases, the quantity demanded decreases. So that's why statement 1 is wrong. Then a statement 3 says that as the price of good decreases, the quantity demanded also decreases. Again, this is violation of law of demand. So that's why a statement 1 and 3 are wrong. A statement 2 and 4 are the same statement which is there in the law of demand. So Vivek, would you explain what's exactly your issue with these statements? Again, until or unless specifically written, you have to go by normal law. You don't have to consider the exception. If you have considered the exception that for Giffen good or Veblen good, first statement is true, then probably जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि you have made a self suicide kind of thing. That you do not have to do until unless it is written specifically. You have to simply assume that a law, I mean a question is being, no, you don't have to consider exception until unless written specifically, or something of this kind is written for all the goods. If a statement is written like this, for all the goods their demand increases as the price decreases, if something like this is written, then you have to consider exception also. Tukaram is saying, sir, if price of wheat goes on increasing, there should be price ceiling for the support of consumers. In this case, there is though both price ceiling and price floor. See, actually, it would be different for different kind of things. For example, when farmer are selling, they are selling this wheat to the traders. They are directly not selling to the consumer. So probably government would apply some kind of price floor for supporting the farmers. At the same time, when trader will sell to the consumer, and if the wheat prices are increasing, there the government can impose some kind of price ceiling that you cannot impose, you cannot charge a price more than this. However, practically it happens that if wheat prices are increasing at such a rate, then normally the market price becomes more than the MSP. So MSP become infructuous. In those scenario, usually MSP becomes irrelevant. Question number 3, let me see. This we shall cover today. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा एडवांस में आ गया है वो क्वेश्चन. We shall cover it in today's class. Question number 3. Okay, so let's move ahead. One more thing was left in the previous class. When we had discussed different type of goods, we have classified the consumer good into durable, non-durable, semi-durable. In few places, you will also see a thing written as intangible goods. Can you tell me what is intangible goods? Apply the common sense and give the answer. Cannot touch. Yes, services. So these are services. So few people are including goods. I mean, few author or few economists, they write good and includes both good as well as services. So what they are categorizing is that there is something called durable good, there is something called non-durable good, and there is third category of intangible goods, which simply means services. Okay. So all these services can also be called as intangible goods. Yes, software is also a kind of intangible good. There were a few people who were asking doubt about see, there is this we have then discussed this demand curve, if it becomes vertical or if it becomes horizontal. This is horizontal demand curve, this is vertical demand curve. Here it is important to understand the convention. We will follow the convention like writing price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. So in case of vertical demand curve, the Q is constant. There is no change in Q even if there is some change in price. So even if price changes, the quantity which is demanded by the consumer is not changing. We have taken an extreme example of Gaza Patti. For example, the only food available in Gaza is wheat. Israel is not allowing anything to go into Gaza other than wheat. In that case, irrespective of the price, people have to consume wheat and they will consume only that much quantity which is required to fill their belly. So in those extreme situations, some such scenario extremely necessary, there is no substitute whatsoever. There can be a situation that irrespective of the price, the quantity demanded is constant. So we shall calculate the elasticity. Elasticity would be change in quantity divided by change in price. So change in quantity is zero. There is no change in quantity, whereas there could be some change in price. So elasticity would become zero. If elasticity is zero, we would say that this is a perfectly inelastic good. Opposite to this scenario is horizontal demand curve. In this horizontal demand curve, the price is constant, and if there is any change in price, even if price increases slightly or price decreases slightly, there is no change. I mean, people are not willing to buy any quantity. People are buying only at a fixed price. So here, if we calculate elasticity, there is some change in quantity. People are sometimes buying this much quantity, sometimes this much quantity, but there is no change in price. Price change is zero. So here the elasticity would be infinity. This is an example of perfectly elastic good. Practically, neither of these two situations are observed in economy. Neither a good is perfectly elastic nor a good is perfectly inelastic. However, at some times you will see that at few places they will write that jewelry or those luxury goods, okay, they have very high elasticity, but we cannot say that they are perfectly elastic. Now let's move to the next concept, that is cross elasticity. When we had studied the law of demand, we have written one line, keeping other things constant. Okay, now let's consider what were those other things which we had kept constant. Can you tell me what are those factors which affect demand, the factors other than prices? Price is one thing which we have seen, yes, income of the people, taste of the people, right? So suppose this is our demand curve. At some particular price, something is being consumed. Okay, so at say price P naught, people are consuming this much quantity Q naught. Okay, and it so happens that, like, for example, Modi ji has given 15 lakh rupees into the bank account of everyone. So people's income increased. Now, if that since people's income has increased, what they will do? Will they consume more or they will consume less? They will consume more. Okay, so for at the same price, even if the price is same, probably they would start consuming a bit more quantity. Even if there is no change in price, that's a different thing. Price changes, then quantity demanded changes. But here, even at the same price, the people would start consuming more because their income has increased. And probably the new demand curve would be something of this sort. Do you agree or not? So here now at the same price P naught, the people are now consuming something called Q1. Now we say that this is a rightward shift in the demand curve. इसको ये काट दो अभी. We are first looking at shift in demand curve. We shall read this cross elasticity after this. Is it clear that because of the change in income, the whole curve will shift rightward? Now, if I say that the people's income has reduced, it may also happen that people's income reduces because of some reason. So in case people income reduces, they will start consuming less quantity at the same price. Probably they will consume something like this, Q2. So the new demand curve would be something of this sort. This is a kind of leftward shift from the original demand curve. Now, to understand this left and right is important that we follow the right convention of drawing price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. Is it clear the shift in demand curve, or do you have any doubt? Simple है. Whenever a question comes that because of this situation, what would be the shift, right or left? This is the kind of question which are going to be asked. So what you have to do is you have to simply draw a curve first. Then you have to see that if whatever change that they are saying, because of this change, whether at the same price people would be willing to buy more or buy less. Based on that, you simply draw a diagram. Now see if the new curve is towards right or towards left. If it is towards right, there is a rightward shift. If it is towards left, there is a leftward shift. Okay, so now I will give you some scenario. There is a good woolen goods. Okay, and if the weather changes from summer to winter, whether there would be a rightward shift or leftward shift. For woolen good, yes, all of you are right. Just before my question, someone had asked a question which I am not able to read. So please paste that question again. Okay, next question. Next question is, suppose India is now organizing ICC Cricket World Cup. What would be the effect on demand curve on hotel services? Yes, you are right. Suppose the next wave of COVID comes, fifth wave of COVID-19 comes. What would be the effect on the demand curve of hotel services? लेफ्ट एंड राइट पहले ही लोगों ने बोल दिया था बिफोर सेइंग कि ऑन व्हिच आइटम आई एम सेइंग द डिमांड कर्व. Had I said medicine in place of hotel, the answer would have been different. So please wait for the question to complete. Okay, but your answer is right. I appreciate your promptness. Okay, so most likely you will be able to answer the shift in demand curve very easily. Never ever answer without drawing the diagram. Always have this practice of drawing the diagram. Right? There was some doubt of some student If it is addressed, it's okay. Otherwise, please post again. Chalo, probably I presume that it is addressed. Now let's come to this concept of cross elasticity. There can also be a situation where the demand of a good changes even though its price is constant, because the price of some other good has changed. It may happen. For example, see, tea and coffee are a kind of substitute good. Either you will drink tea or you will drink coffee, unless or until it is being provided for free. Probably you will drink both tea and coffee. We are not studying the shift in supply curve. See, till now, the shift in demand curve has also not been asked ever. So we are anticipating that if they go a bit depth, the next point that UPSC is going to touch is demand curve. Supply curve is a bit more complex, where you have to look from the perspective of supplier, the producer. So there is shift in supply curve also, but we are not going to study that. We are just, I am personally hoping that UPSC is at max going to touch the supply curve, sorry, demand curve, not the supply curve. They have yet not asked any question on demand or supply curve. Okay. Now let's come to this perspective that you will drink either tea or coffee, or you will drink McD, or you will eat McD burger or Burger King burger. So probably these are the goods which can be substitute for one another, and that's why they are called substitute goods. At the same time, there are few goods which are consumed together. For example, if you buy racket, you will definitely have to buy the ball as well. Otherwise, how are you going to play the tennis? However, in India, there is a scenario where I am not very sure if the statistic is correct or not, that there are more purchase of baseball baseball bat without the purchase of baseball. Can you tell me why? Why is this anomaly? That in Indians, yes, Devanshu is right. Indians are purchasing baseball bat not to play baseball, rather to have a fight. Okay, and especially in the case of road races, but we would not be considering those exceptional scenario. We would be restricting ourselves to the normal scenario where these are the things which are consumed together. Can you give me some more example? Yes, Ashish is giving complementary goods example. Car and petrol. If you buy car, you will have to buy petrol as well. Unless or otherwise you have only bought car for show off. Pencil and eraser. Yes, you are right. If there is consumption of pencil, there is definitely be consumption shoe and socks, torch and cell. Okay, now can you give me some example of substitute goods? Everyone should try giving answer, because if you are giving answer, then the conceptual clarity is being verified. Coke and Pepsi, coffee and tea, watch and mobile to some extent, but mobile has a larger purpose. Maggie and chow mein, yes. Usually wheat and rice are also a kind of substitute good. Either you will eat wheat or you will eat rice. Both are a staple food. Yes. So now suppose, first write down the definition, then we will suppose. Write down the definition of these goods. If you have already written down the definition, please pardon me. Zoom or Google Meet. Yeah. Train and bus can also be a kind of substitute good. Either you will travel through bus or you will travel through train. Let me know if you are done. Google Pay and Phone Pay, yes. Kurkure and Takatak. Yeah, Smriti, I'm betting. Have you people seen this new movie, 12th Fail? Anyone? Those who have not written, keep writing. Don't engage in this discussion. It is for those who are fast. Have you seen this movie? Heard of it? So this is a story of an IPS officer who had failed in 12th and then later on went on to become an IPS officer, clear the civil service exam. And there was one thing which was probably the catalytic factor in his success, apart from other things, is that he was jiddi. He was stubborn. He has decided that I have to do it, then he will do it. And normally it is not appreciated. Normal sense में it is said that you should not be very stubborn, you should be flexible, you should be adaptive. But I believe that these stubborn people are usually high achievers. Sometimes they get stubborn for the right thing. And if you are stubborn for the right cause, right purpose, then you can achieve the heights that other cannot even imagine. Okay, so let's come back to the topic. Now let's take this example of complementary good. Suppose car prices have gone down. Car and petrol, one of the example that you people have told me, this is an example of complementary good. And suppose it so happens that cars prices have gone down, 1 lakh में car मिल रही है, everyone is buying car. It will definitely increase the demand of petrol. The car prices have gone down. Because of this, the consumption of car would go high, consumption of car would go high, then the consumption of petrol would also go high. So the demand of petrol would increase. In turn, its prices of petrol, what will be the impact on prices of petrol? Why will it fall? It will increase. If demand on something is increasing, its price will increase. Okay, so what has happened here? The price of petrol has not sorry. No, we have to study till here only. So ये नहीं पढ़ना है हमें डिमांड तक ही पढ़ना है. So what has happened here, that the demand of petrol has increased even though its prices are constant. Although in effect later on its prices can increase, but if we only look at the impact on demand of petrol, its demand is increasing because the prices of car has gone down. So now if I have to ask you, what is the impact on demand? What is the impact of price of complementary good on demand? Confusing. Question is, what is impact on demand of a good if price of its complementary good decreases? Give me the answer. What would be the impact on demand of a good if price of its complementary good reduces? Mostly people are saying increasing. Let me look at the answer. हम यहाँ से शुरू करेंगे. Complementary good. So let's take an example of this new example, bat and ball. Okay, so what would be the impact on demand of a good? Let's say this good is ball, and if price of its complementary good increases, so this complementary good is bat, So if price of bat decreases, what will happen? Its demand of bat, price of bat reduce, so its demand would increase. So demand of ball would also increase. So those of you who have answered increase, you can pat your back. You have given the right answer. So whenever a question comes this way, so can I write that there is an inverse relationship between demand of a good and price of its complementary good? So please write it down, that demand of a good is inversely related to price of its complementary good. Although I have made you write this correlation, I would never want you to memorize such thing. I would simply want you that whenever a question comes, take an example, derive this correlation, and then give the answer. How many relation you will memorize? This is the simple thing. This is never required to be memorized. If price decreases something, its demand would increase. If demand of bat is increasing, the demand of ball would also increase, and that's our answer. So you need not memorize, but you should write it down. Someone will see the notebook, then they will make a comment कि teacher कुछ लिखवा ही नहीं रहा है. Now let's take the next example of substitute good. For example, let's start here. If price of tea increases, what will happen? The demand of tea would go down. What will people do? People will shift to coffee. So demand of coffee increases. Simple. So there is a direct correlation between demand of a good is directly proportional to price of substitute good. Can I write this? Some one of you might be thinking, sir, what if the tea is still costlier than coffee? It may happen the price of tea has increased, but it has not surpassed the price of coffee. In that case, what will happen? ठीक है, तो मैं बोलूंगा कि बाकी खाल नहीं निकालनी है, हमें कंसेप्ट सीखना है. ठीक है. See, there would be some people for which the tea is no more lucrative. They were probably consuming because tea was rupees 100. The price of tea was rupees 100 more than coffee. They were thinking that this gap is too much, that I should consume tea only. Now if this gap has reduced rupees 50, then probably that person will now think that the gap is not enough. I should shift to coffee. I should have a spend. Why not spend? I mean, you might have also thought many a times, why not spend 50 rupees more and buy coffee? If the prices are similar or the difference is only 10 rupees, you do that, don't you? So there would be definitely a few consumer base who will shift from tea to coffee. Obviously, not everyone is going to shift, because I mean, there would be a few people who will be addicted to tea only. उनको कॉफी में मजा ही नहीं आएगा. So they will always consume tea irrespective of the price. So we are only understanding the concept. Is it clear? ठीक है. I mean, for example, irrespective of the price of the Apple, people will not shift to Android phone because they are now addicted to that Apple software. They are comfortable with that software. But in general, it will happen that if iPhone prices increases, the chances are that its demand would come down and the demand of Android phone would pick up. And many times it has happened. You might have seen such examples in the real world scenario as well. Have you seen any example? Can you give where the some product has become very popular because some other product has become costly? Anyone? Yes, OnePlus. Or rather, the reason for decline of Nokia was the coming up of Samsung. Samsung was cheaper. It was a substitute which was cheaper than the Nokia product. And since Samsung was cheaper, people shifted to Samsung. Both were giving similar return. Yeah. Yeah, people, the reason why people shifted to Jio from those Vodafone and many other operators which were in place. Because Jio was cheaper, Jio was absolutely free. So since a substitute price is reduced, its demand increase. People can either consume call using Airtel, or they can call using Vodafone, or they can call using Jio. So people shifted to those products. Okay. Now you tell me that if price of a complementary good increases, listen to me carefully. If price of a complementary good increases, how would the demand curve shift? Would it shift rightward or leftward? Make the diagram, then give the answer, because I am getting both right and left. दो ही तो ऑप्शन है, दोनों मुझे आ रहे हैं, स्क्रीन पे दिख रहे हैं. So don't answer by flipping the coin. And you know that there has been a recent study which is saying that if you flip the coin, the chances of head and tail are not equal. There is a slightly higher chance of, which has higher chance? Head. There is a slightly higher chance of that side, which is, I mean, with which you start the flipping. For example, if you start with head, the chances of head is slightly higher than tail. If you start with tail, the chances of tail is slightly higher. But for answering question, we would consider that both have equal chances. In CSET, don't take my advice. Okay. So now the question is, if the price of a complementary good increases, what would be the impact on the demand curve of that good? So let's derive it. हमें पहले कर्व पे डिमांड करना है. We would say, we would draw the demand curve of any one good. Say we have this is the demand curve of bat. At this quantity, at this price, people are consuming this much of quantity. Now whenever we have to decide the shift, we would say that at the same price, whether people are buying more or buying less. So if price of complementary good means the price of ball has increased. The price of ball has increased. So the demand of ball would reduce. If the demand for ball has reduced, naturally the demand for bat would also reduce. Demand of bat would reduce, so at same price people will buy less quantity. So if they will buy less quantity, the curve would shift leftward. Your answer could be right or wrong, but if you had followed this approach of drawing the curve, making this correlation, then answering, I would still appreciate you. You might have erred today, but you will definitely be right in the exam. But if you have just given answers like this, then this time you could be right, some other time you may not be. Is it clear? So give answer another. If the price of a supplementary good reduces, what would be the impact on demand curve? Price of substitute good reduces, impact on demand curve क्या होगा? Okay, so I am mostly getting the right answer. Let's see whether the right answer is right or not. Let's take the example of tea. So suppose this is the curve of tea. Let's substitute coffee. Coffee prices has reduced. So people will shift to tea, and the tea's demand would increase. So at the same price, people are ready to buy more tea. So the new curve would be something of this kind. So there is rightward shift. All of you are right. Few left answer are there. Shivali, what's the problem? Shivali, Madhvi, how did you think that it went wrong? You can discuss it. Until unless you discuss it, it would not be clear. Once again, so let me give you another example. Suppose the suppose the price of electric vehicle has reduced. What would be the impact on demand curve of diesel vehicle? The price of electric vehicle has reduced. What would be its impact on demand curve of diesel vehicle? You are answering in terms of decrease. When I am asking demand on curve, the answer would be probably left or right. Okay, so simple concept hai. If price of electric vehicle has reduced, it means the demand of electric vehicle would increase because the price is reduced. People will shift from diesel vehicle. So definitely diesel vehicle, the demand of diesel vehicle would go down because now people are using more of electric vehicle. So demand of diesel vehicle has reduced. So what is the impact on the demand curve? At the same price, people are buying less of diesel vehicle. So the curve would shift leftward. This is the demand curve of diesel vehicle. The curve would shift leftward. I think now everything is fine. So if any confusion is created by the examiner, you don't have to confuse. Simply you have to draw these two things. Okay, you have understood everything. There cannot be any confusing question. Now we shall look at some other basis of categorizing the goods, and that is the basis of excludability and rivalrousness. So first we need to understand the meaning of these two words. Excludability means the ability to exclude a person from consuming something. For example, in this class, there is definite mechanism to exclude those people who have registered or paid the fees from those people who have not registered or not paid the fee, right? In every class, there is a possibility that we can exclude those who are not paid from those who have paid it. Okay, so this classroom education is an example of a good which can be which has this criteria of excludability. But on the streets, can you exclude people from coming into the street from those who have, I mean, from other people, there is no way that you can exclude someone. Everyone can come to the a street, whichever street they want. So probably street roads are the example of those goods which cannot be excluded. Say air. Can you exclude someone that if someone pays 10 rupees, then he can breathe, and those who cannot pay, they will not breathe? You cannot exclude. So there are certain goods in for which the excludability is not possible. Let's come to this rivalrousness. This word has come from rivalry. Rivalry means either you can win or I can win. So if there is a good which gets consumed by consumption by one person, for example, simply biscuit. If I consume a biscuit, this is no more available for someone else to consume. But the same is not true for this class. It's not that if one person, like if Kirti has joined the class, it is no more available for some other person. Some other person can also join the class and have the same amount of same good quality of teaching experience that other students are having. So by consumption, by one student or one consumer does not diminishes the availability for some other consumer. So this is an example of rivalrousness. Okay. So first write it down, the definition of these two terms, then we shall move forward. Rivalrousness is if one person consumes or uses the good, it becomes less available. It becomes less available for others. Next, excludability. It's the ability, yes, less available for others to consume. Less available for others to consume. The next is excludability. It is the ability, to exclude the non-paying individuals from accessing the benefits of the good or service. So it is the ability to exclude the non-paying individual from accessing the benefits of the good or service. Okay. Now, obviously, based on these two criteria, we can have 2 into 2, 4 category of goods. There would be some good which would be excludable as well as rival. We would say that these are private goods. No need to write the definition, only make this diagram, that would be sufficient. So if there are only 4 possibility, a good can be excludable as well as rival, then it would be called private goods. So all those consumption goods that we have in our home, they are example of private goods. For example, ice cream, cheese, houses, cars. There could be some goods which are excludable, but non-rival. For example, cable television, cinemas, Wi-Fi, toll roads. You can also write online classes. There would be some good for which exclusion is not possible, but they get consumed. They would be less available for others. For example, fresh water of the river, fish, timber, pasture. It may not be possible to restrict people from going to the forest, but definitely if someone cuts a tree from the forest, the tree is less available now. There are public goods like fresh air, knowledge, national defense. Neither it is possible to exclude the paying person from non-paying person, nor it is possible, nor they become any less available by consumption of any one person. For example, defense. Let's take the example of defense. Is it possible that those who pay taxes only be safeguarded from the terrorist attack, and those who do not pay taxes, they will not be safeguarded from the terrorist attack? If Pakistan attacks, the chances of dying a tax-paying person is same as the person who is not paying taxes. So these are the 4 category of goods. Usually, the goods which fall in this excludable category, these are the goods for which payment can be charged from the individuals. Okay, they are supposed to be provided by private sector. We shall look into these things more when we study the LPG reforms, etc. But for the time being, write down these are the goods for which private sector can charge a fee. So if private sector provides these goods or services, it can charge a fee. So private sector can thrive here. So ideally, it is said that private sector should be providing them. Governments have no business in making ice cream, cheese, houses, etc. However, for these goods for which the exclusion is not possible, if exclusion is not possible, probably private sector would find it difficult to become sustainable here. How will private sector do this? So these are the things where government activity should be more, like defense. Defense has to be provided by the government. However, it may happen that government is doing it in support of the private sector, like government can pay some price to the private sector and private sector can add the government. However, exclusively it cannot be the responsibility of private sector. Okay? Because private sector cannot charge a fee for this. There cannot be a CRPF force of private sector, right? From where will they charge the fees? How will they make the payment to their personnel? But obviously, again, I would say this is a broad category. There are examples of private goods which are being provided till few days ago or like few months ago. Air India or like Indian Railway, which is a kind of example of private goods. Indian Railway is both rival as well as excludable. A seat is available for only that person only. But these were the services which are being provided, like Indian Oil, which is selling diesel, petrol, etc. So government is active in these private goods as well. But many of the people are now saying that government should quit these centers. Okay, this is the sector which should be left for the private sector. Government should focus on these sectors only. Okay. Now there is a concept of problems. There are some problems with public goods and common goods. And that is the concept of free rider, that question which was asked in today's quiz. And the problem is that if you cannot charge few people for certain public goods, there would be someone who would be free rider. Free rider means an individual or entity that benefits from a public good or common resource without directly paying for it. Like someone, I mean, the government would make some mechanism that you can contribute. Like there is a park, so government always request you, or whatever be the authority, they request you that make some donation, or do some voluntary work for maintaining of that park or something like that. Few people would abide by the request that they should not pluck the flowers, they should not damage the trees, they should not damage the grass. But there would be few people who would act as a free rider. They would extract the benefit, but they would not do anything. They would not pay anything for maintenance of those resources. Such person would be called free rider. So usually if there is a public good or common good, there has to be some free rider. Okay. Now there is another problem, that is of tragedy of common. So okay, before coming to the very good example, I would give you some informal example. Has it happened sometime with you people that a group of friends, you have gone to a restaurant, and in the restaurant one of your friends have ordered something which is expensive. Okay. Now that he has ordered and the bill is supposed to be split equally between all your friends, so you have also ordered something which is expensive, or maybe that हाँ मुझे भी एक सेक पिएगा, हाँ हाँ हम भी सेक पिएंगे. That is one example of tragedy of common. Okay, not very good example. I would explain how. So effectively what is happening, that you are trying to maximize your individual benefit. You do not want that. This is also related to the next concept that we shall be learning. But what you want, that you should pay for the things that you consume. Your payment should be less than or equal to your consumption. This is your target. In this process, what you are doing, you are trying to be a rational person in your self-interest. So rational person is usually a person who tries to maximize the self-interest, maximum self-interest pursue hona chahiye. Need not write this, just understand it. Okay, you will write the definition which I will give here. But in this process, everyone's interest is getting compromised. Effectively, the bill of the whole group is increasing and everyone's bill is increasing. Okay, so tragedy of common is same thing, that everyone is acting in the self-interest, and as a return, everyone's interest is getting compromised. It is a situation in which multiple individuals acting in their own self-interest deplete or degrade a shared resource. Okay. So there is a common resource. Everyone is trying to extract the maximum out of it. And in this process, what they are doing is they are depleting or degrading that shared resource. Let's take the classic example from which this concept had come is example of a pasture. Pasture means grassland. So all the villagers used to use that grassland. Yes, your environment के साथ भी यही हो रहा है. You are right. So every villager's self-interest is maximized if they are grazing maximum of their animals into that pasture land. Their animals are growing leaps and bounds. But in this process, what is happening? That pasture land is getting destroyed. You have to sustainably use it. You have to only graze that much of grass which is growing every day on a daily basis. Otherwise, a day will come when there shall not be any grassland. Same is with the environment. We are consuming the environment at a faster rate, and there would be a time when it shall not be available for any one of us. But today we are not thinking of anyone else. We are just acting in self-interest. So this is an example of tragedy of common. Solution of tragedy of common is sustainable development. लिख लो. The solution of tragedy of common is sustainable development. The solution of tragedy of common is sustainable development. That rather than merely focusing on our own interest, our self-interest, we should also focus on the collective interest. You may write down the definition of sustainable development. Although the environment teacher will teach you in more detail, but just write down inside footnote somewhere definition of sustainable development. Have you studied environment or sustainable development? No. Chalo, then write it down. Then my definition would be correct. Read it. Write it. It is the development. It is the development that does not compromise. That does not compromise the ability of future generations, the ability of future generations to develop. So you are developing in a way that you are living enough resources for the upcoming generations to consume. But it's like, let's take that example of grazing grass only. If you have completely destroyed that grassland, probably the future generation will not have that grassland. So it is not an example of sustainable development. Yes, eco-friendly. For example, like our earlier generation, or especially those people who are from developed country, they have polluted the environment so much that now we are not left with the choice to use those resources. We have coal, but we cannot use them, because if we use coal, it would pollute the environment. So they have not done sustainable development. Now our choices are restricted, right? Yes, Vansika, that can also be there. But I mean, there are various solutions. I mean, it would be, Vansika is suggesting that government schemes which does not deplete the respective resources. I mean, if you design the government schemes in such a way that the depletion of resources is reduced, definitely that is an example of tragedy of common. So there are some schemes also, especially those schemes which are when impact on groundwater. Groundwater is one such common resource. And if we provide free electricity, people are wasting water. And definitely a time will come that our future generation, or already that time has come. There was recently this some stand-up comedy he was doing. He went to USA and he said that where is that RO water, and which we drink. We Indians have now, I mean, it has become a necessity that we have to consume RO water only. They said that we drink water from the tap only. In India, we can no more drink water from the tap. Of course, we can if we do not have the accessibility, or other, we cannot afford the RO water, but definitely the water is polluted. So our past generation have not acted in a sustainable manner. It has destroyed that common resource. Okay. Usually this is not the practice that we abuse our past generation, but this is something which is a fact. Let's move forward. These public goods, especially not the common goods, but these public goods are mostly free. If it is non-rivalrous as well as non-excludable. This is definitely going to be free. Okay, but all other category of goods are mostly not going to be free, especially those goods which were private goods. Do not write it down. Okay, I will give you the definition. Wait. Okay. So especially those private goods. So based on the criteria, whether some goods are available for free or you have to pay the price for that, the goods can be categorized into free goods and economic goods. Okay. So free goods are those goods which are naturally abundant and available to everyone at no cost. Example are those public goods: air, sunlight, seawater. These are in abundant supply. Earlier, even groundwater used to be a kind of free good, but it is no more free. Or other, you can write the example of potable water. We used to drink any water, नदी में जाओ और पानी लेकर के आ जाओ. That was the scenario earlier. But now the water is no more a free good. So tomorrow it may be a possibility that air also ceases to be a free good. If you want air, you will have to pay some price. You will buy air to breathe. It is our responsibility, the responsibility of current generation, that such a scenario never come. Economic goods are the goods which are scarce in supply. There is limited supply and people have to pay a price to own or use them. As the name suggests, our subject will deal with economic goods only. जहां पैसा नहीं, वहां हमारा काम नहीं. Yes, as done in COVID times, even oxygen had become an economic goods. Bisleri water, I mean, earlier there was no need of Bisleri water. If all the water available around us is potable water, is pure, is worth drinking, no one is going to pay for Bisleri, right? But since we have polluted the groundwater, the tap water is no more pure, there is a need of Bisleri. Now, there is something called opportunity cost. And for free goods, the opportunity cost is 0. Whereas for economic goods, there is some opportunity cost. Just write it down. I will explain what is opportunity cost. So if yes, you are right. Many of you already know it. So opportunity cost is like whatever choices you make a lot many choices, but let's consider it in terms of goods only. If you buy something or if you consume something or if you do something with something, definitely you do not do something else. For example, if you have decided, let's take the simple example, if you have decided to prepare for UPSC, many of you might have left the job. You could have done any job after graduation. Definitely you could have done some job. If someone is engineer, he would have become engineer. Someone is doctor, he would have become doctor, or whatever be your profession, CA, commerce, arts, teacher, etc. Anything you could have become. That income you are not earning, so that is your opportunity cost. So whatever the things that you have foregone is the opportunity cost. If you are buying something, for example, if you are buying a pen with rupees 100, you are definitely not buying something else with that 100 rupees. So usually for economic goods or for most of the items that we purchase, The economic goods, the opportunity cost is their prices, their market price. However, it may not always be true. For example, see, if government has decided that ethanol is something which is required, we need to go for sustainable development, so we need to produce ethanol from sugarcane. Okay, so if we are producing ethanol from sugarcane, we are not producing sugar from that sugarcane. So in this case, the opportunity cost is the price of sugar that we would have otherwise produced, right? So maybe, usually, normally in market scenario, what will happen, that the price of ethanol that we will produce from that sugarcane would be same as the price of sugar. So someone will produce sugar, someone will produce ethanol. If for me it is cheaper to produce sugar, I will produce sugar. If for me it is cheaper to produce ethanol, I will produce ethanol. So usually everyone, every producer would try to reduce the opportunity cost. If I have sugar cane, I would try to produce a good which will give me maximum return, and my opportunity cost is minimum. Opportunity cost is second best choice, the thing that I'm not doing it. Okay, but then government will come and government will say that I will give subsidy on ethanol. Say ethanol is rupees 100 per liter. The government says that now we shall provide subsidy and ethanol price would be rupees 80 per liter. Now, actual opportunity cost is still the price of sugar, which was not made. And it would probably be same as rupees 100. But since the ethanol prices has been reduced artificially by the government, probably its demand would be more and it would be produced more in the economy. So this is an example where the opportunity cost is more than the actual cost in the market, because the actual cost is less than the market price, and it has been reduced artificially by subsidy. Is it clear? If it is not clear, I will repeat it. यहीं पे हम रुकते हैं थोड़ा सा, because normal definition opportunity cost का easy है, but when we delve deep into it, it becomes a bit confusing. So impact of subsidy on opportunity cost, can you understand it? That the opportunity cost would still remain same even if the prices of ethanol has gone down. No, what opportunity cost would remain same. Opportunity cost is what is not done. So what is not done is still sugar, its prices is still same. But what has happened is the opportunity cost has now become more than the price of ethanol, more than the economic cost, the actual cost that you recovered. Okay, so this difference is basically subsidy. Okay, so effectively the opportunity cost is being transferred to the government. Government is bearing that opportunity cost. Okay, so now we will write down the definition of opportunity cost. It is the foregone benefit that would have been derived from an option other than the one that was chosen. If you have chosen an option, if you have definitely not chosen something else. So that's something else. I mean, the best amongst that something else. One more thing. See, for example, why not preparing for UPSC? You could have either become an engineer or you could have become a teacher. So it's not that you will add the salary as an engineer. I would have earned 1 lakh. I would have, as a teacher, I would have earned 0.8 lakh. So your opportunity cost would not be 1.8 lakh. That's wrong. Your opportunity cost would be the best, second best choice. That is 1 lakh, sorry, 1 lakh is your opportunity cost. The second best choice. Yeah, what would you have gone? What would you have gained or got from selecting the next best alternative? You are right, Sarat Kumar. That's the opportunity cost. Is it clear to everyone? Yeah, so it is for the economic items. For it may be in terms of monetary terms, and then it could be non-monetary terms as well. For example, the people who are attending classes, you could have slept as well. दोपहर की नींद लेते हैं, हाँ मजा आएगा. But that is the opportunity cost that you are paying for attending these classes. So it may be it may be in monetary terms, it can be a non-monetary thing as well. But in economics, we would restrict ourselves to monetary things only. There is no formula, says, because I mean this is always a subjective item. What would you have earned? Because you never did that. Okay, so this is a subjective thing. It would only remain at the conceptual level. And conceptually, whenever you will make a decision, for example, when you become DM, you will have a certain budget. Okay, you will have a budget and you will have to make a choice whether with this limited money, you want to make a schools, you want to make hospitals, you want to make roads, because you cannot make all. So you will always calculate the opportunity cost, that if I make a hospital, how many people will benefit? If I make a school, how many, what would be the benefit that would accrue? If I make road, what would be the benefit that would accrue? Okay, and after doing this comparison, you will take a decision that if I make a road, probably this is the best scenario. Maximum benefit will happen to the people. Now, if it is clear, then answer this question. Not possible. The question is a difficult one. So the obvious answer is a wrong answer. One more hint, like UPSC always write in its paper that we have to choose the best available option. You have to reduce the opportunity cost. Okay. So choose the best available option. You can revise your answer. But you must give answer. Whatever is in your opinion the best possible choice. You have to make decision. सर प्लीज लॉक डी. चलो डी को लॉक कर देते हैं और ये गलत जवाब है. सही जवाब है सी. I feel all are correct. Exactly. If they are given independently, probably you can think uh, independently, all of them could be the right answer. ठीक है. See, the definition of free good is if something is free, it means there is zero opportunity cost. So independently, even this statement you could have marked right. Okay. You can have also said that definitely there is opportunity cost. This is not a free good per se. If a commodity, for example, if government is providing free wheat, the government is providing it for free, but it is as not a unlimited resource. Free good is something which is in plenty, for which there is no cost is involved. But definitely wheat is not something which is in plenty and without any cost. So as such, there is an opportunity cost, but for consumer, it is to be ignored. But if you read C and D, probably these are more appropriate answer than this, because as such, this is not a free good. Any commodity which is provided by the government is not a free good per se. The government need not provide it if it is free good. So it is an economic good, and since it is an economic good, there would be an opportunity cost. And this opportunity cost is not being borne by the people. When people are buying some wheat, I mean, they are getting this good for free. So it is not being borne by people, rather it is being shifted to the government. हमने अभी देखा था सब्सिडी के केस में. We have seen that the subsidy is the opportunity cost. So that opportunity cost is getting transferred to the government. So even D could have been the right answer. But यहाँ UPSC has also written another answer, a statement from the consumers of the product to the tax-paying public. So probably this is more appropriate answer. Ultimately, it is not, government is nothing. From where will the government get the money? The government will get money from the public only, those who are paying taxes. So that money is being transferred to those who are getting these goods for free. Effectively, this is what is happening. Okay, so in this given context, C is the right answer. Otherwise, even D would have been the right answer. There is nothing wrong in D as well. So only in this scenario, C is the most appropriate answer. Now, Hardik has asked a good question. Hardik is saying, sir, farmers burn rice straw in open field, but nowadays rice straw burning is done in power plant to generate electricity. See, so those farmers who are burning the rice straw, for them the opportunity cost is whatever be the income they would have earned if they would have sold this straw to a power plant. That is their opportunity cost. Okay. The next is government give the subsidy to generate power. But probably what would happen, those power plant are not self-sustainable. Their cost of operation is more. So only because of the environmental reason, government wants to run those power plants. Otherwise, it is more prudent from economic perspective to run power plant on coal. Okay. Then what would be the opportunity cost in this case? So opportunity cost in this case is whatever be the cost of electricity that they are generating plus the cost of subsidy. That is the opportunity cost. Is there any other doubt? चलो फिर आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now we shall move from goods to market. So ultimately, market is a place where exchange happens. You buy goods or services, and in return you pay money. Earlier there used to be barter system, in which you used to take some goods and you used to give some other good. In villages, you might have seen that barter system is still in practice in some arena, but these days we have shifted to money market. Okay, so is there anyone who doesn't know what is barter system? Let me know. If everyone knows it, I would move ahead. ठीक है. So mostly you people already know it. Okay. So now we shall move to the kind of market we have currently in our economy. So the most of this scenario in the scenario that we have been studying or we shall study in future would be about perfect competition market. So this is a market in which there are multiple buyer and multiple sellers. A lot many people are selling the same thing, and a lot many people are interested in buying the same thing. The natural corollary of this is it is only possible that there are multiple buyers and multiple sellers if there is no restriction on entry and exit from the market. Anyone can enter the market, anyone can exit from the market. If he is not interested in buying or selling those things, then he is exiting from the market. And there has to be another condition, is that each firm which is producing those things, like each firm which is a seller, is selling the homogeneous product, means the same product. There is no differentiation between the products which are being sold by multiple firms. And the fourth criteria is that there is perfect information. So every seller is aware about the every buyer, and every buyer is aware about the every seller. It's not that the every seller he has to be aware, but he knows, like if I am the buyer, if I go to the market, I know that A, B, C, D, there are 10 person from which I can buy the product, and all the person are selling these products wherever they are. So I have all the access to all the information that I want. Similarly, every seller also has all the information that he or she wants about the buyer. Okay. So if these conditions are met, that market is called perfect competition. Practically hardly exist. Okay. Most of the concepts hardly exist. Okay. So these are ideal scenario. The most realistic example for this is the food grain market. जैसे आप wheat का market ले लो. So there are a lot many farmers in the country who are producing wheat, and probably there are a lot many people in the country who are interested in buying wheat, and there is no restriction on anyone buying or selling wheat. Further, every farmer is probably producing the similar wheat. I mean, there is for any category of wheat you can take. There are a lot many farmers who are producing the similar wheat. So the product is homogeneous, and almost everyone has information from various channels. What is the price of wheat, where it is available, where is the market, wherever you can buy. So there is almost information, perfect availability of information. Okay. Obviously, in due course of our class itself, we shall study there is no such perfect information availability. There are a lot many problems. The farmers are not so aware as the traders. Okay. Even share market is an example of perfect competition. Yes, you are right. There are a lot many people who are buying the share. There are a lot many people who are selling the share, and everyone has the same information about the prices. There is free entry and exit. The share is similar. Okay. Have you noted down? Okay. But since this is rarity that a perfect competition exists, we shall also study about certain markets which are not so competitive, like monopoly. This is a market where there is only one seller. Rather than being a multiple sellers, there is only one seller. Can you give me an example of monopoly? Yes, Indian Railways. So if you have to travel by rail, there is no other option but Indian Railways. Sai Charan is saying, Kadappa is saying that in share market, the information is available to the privileged people only. Probably the information is available to, I mean, you are talking about probably some illicit activities like insider trading, etc., which are not available to common people. But normal sense may, I mean, those are exceptional things which are available to only few people. Normally, when you buy and sell the share, every information is there. I mean, there are norms which forces people to make all the information available, but definitely no market is perfect. There are certain lacuna in all the market. There are certain commodities which are more suited. I mean, normally monopoly is not good. Why? Because in monopoly, it is the seller which determines the prices. Like railway earlier used to charge 10 rupees for platform ticket. Before that, it used to charge 5 rupees. All of a sudden, it increased to 50 rupees. You have no choice but to pay it. You cannot opt, no, I shall not go by Indian Railway. I shall go by Bihar Railway. There is no such entity available. But if the same is being done by bus operators, they increase their prices. You will shift to some other bus operator. So normally it is said that monopoly is not good for consumer because the seller determines the prices and at times they can exploit the consumer. But there are few commodities which are better served if they are run in monopoly. For example, electricity. If it is so done that multiple companies are allowed to provide you electricity, so multiple company would have to build their own infrastructure in the same area. Every company would have to have their own buyer network, and it would be costly for the consumer. Ultimately, consumer have to pay for that infrastructure also. So just because more choices you have doesn't mean that all the choices would, I mean, more choices would not result into better choices. In that case, probably every company customer base would shrink, and that the cost of providing electricity would be higher for all the companies. So there are certain things which are efficiently served if entire market is served by a single firms. Example is electricity. See, now if we look from the seller perspective, seller always wants that if they have monopoly, they can confidently increase the prices, they can confidently increase their profit. Okay, but consumer would hardly want any monopoly. So what this, or like government would also restrict, or practically also it would always be a possibility that if some company is having monopoly, someone else will try to enter into that market. Someone else will also have this idea, will see that they are making a lot of money. I mean, this is something that has happened to UPSC coaching industry also. Now there are a lot many players who are providing coaching because everyone is saying that those old players, they have earned so much of profit. Okay, so why not I also open a coaching? So this is the thought process will happen, and practically monopoly would be difficult to maintain if you are not government. If you are government, you can simply make a law. कोई और रेल नहीं चलाएगा तो नहीं चलाएगा. Okay. So private companies, what they do, they try to make something called monopolistic competition. How they do it? They try to create a niche for themselves. For example, you might have seen toothpaste. So the various companies which are there in the toothpaste market, they have their a special kind of product. Someone is saying that हमारे toothpaste में नमक है. Someone is saying that our toothpaste has calcium. The doctors recommend it. Someone is saying that our toothpaste provide you freshness. You will have a very fresh breath. You will attract the people from other gender because of the toothpaste only. You need not do become IPS, etc. So they have the similar product but not exactly identical. They are differentiating their product through branding, advertising, or minor variations. So this is how, like, those people who are attracted with fresh air, freshness or good smell, they will probably shift to that kind of toothpaste only. Those people who have probably read somewhere that calcium is good for the teeth, they would be always attracted to one particular toothpaste. So every toothpaste has cornered their own niches. They have created their loyal customer. So this is an example of monopolistic competition. Take example of cold drink also. Taste the thunder. मतलब थम्स अप पी करके पता नहीं आप क्या हो जाओगे. This is completely an example of trying to create a monopoly. Those people who are driven by that hunger, they would always go with that poison only. I call it poison itself. You have various quality of poisons available in the market. You will choose one based on the things that drive you. So this is done by branding, advertising, etc. Yeah, or you do minor variations to the product that you have. One more term is there, cutthroat competition. This term has somewhat negative connotation, that if the competition is such, or if there is a situation that because of competition the companies are using illicit means to harm each other, so there has to be, then it is called cutthroat. मतलब आप एक दूसरे के गला काटने पे उतारू हो. Now the only way for you to grow is to cut the throat of your competitors. That is called cutthroat competition. One of the example is there was this brand name Nirma. In your childhood, you might have seen basing powder Nirma ad. Okay, and then this HUL company which produces Surf Excel. So HUL was the first company to come up with Surf, but it was very costly. Okay, and then came Nirma, which produced very cheap surf, what you can say, soda it produced, and it started capturing a lot of market. They had a lot of money, that's why there was a lot of advertisement. Everything, every serial has the same commercial. So what Surf Excel did is they supplied in the market a lot of Nirma powders which were having a spurious सर्फ, मतलब नकली जाली सर्फ जो है उन्होंने मार्केट में सप्लाई किया. Their ultimate objective was to damage or diminish the brand value of Nirma. Like people will use them and they will see that this is not a good quality thing. Ultimately, सस्ता है, खराब है. So let's stick to the Surf Excel only. So these are the example of cutthroat competition. Like when one company is harming other company through some illicit means. Okay, branding as such is not an example of cutthroat competition. You are branding your product in a way that you think will suit the people. But if you are making fake promises in your branding, that is also something that is wrong. In this market, there is high selling cost. Obviously, the cost will increase if you have to create a niche for yourself. The cost will definitely increase. Now let's move to next item, that is oligopoly. In oligopoly, what will happen that there would be a few seller, not the only one seller. Okay, a small number of large firms that dominate the industry. Can you give some example of oligopoly? Yes, luxury vehicles may there are Audi, BMW, Range Rover, limited number of seller are there. In case of internet service provider, we have limited provider, Airtel, Jio, only two major players are left. In case this small number is two, then it is known as duopoly. So duopoly is a kind of oligopoly where there are only two major players. Duopoly example is Ola, Uber, Amazon, Flipkart. A lot many sectors you will see duopoly. Monopoly is rare because some or other player will definitely prop up Swiggy, Zomato. But a lot many sectors you witness uh, duopoly, and most of the economic sectors which have some kind of oligopoly. Okay. As such, it becomes because it is not viable for a lot many large players. So some player will definitely become bigger and larger than the other player, and it would be difficult for the smaller player to keep on competing with those large players. So that's why usually oligopoly develops in almost all economic arena. Even airline business, you have seen that only there are limited airline players. After some time, one or another player definitely fails and get out of the market. Few players keep on entering the market. Few players keep on getting out of the market. Uh, it becomes wrong in oligopoly because there are only a small number of large firms. There is always a possibility that these firms can collude with each other to cheat the customer. Like tomorrow, it is a possibility that Airtel and Jio both sit together and decide, or it has happened a few years, probably last year, that all of a sudden both of these firms increase the prices. So there is always a possibility. What will be the option that we will have? We will not have any option. We will have to either choose Airtel or Jio. Such scenario is called cartelization. So cartelization is a situation when a small number of firms collude, or like when a small number of large firms collude with each other, collude collude with each other to take unfair advantage. Now, this unfair advantage could be of various types. One could be like increasing prices, another could be decreasing the quality of goods, third could be and various unfair advantage that they can take. Ideally, what should have happened? Ideally, it should have happened like the way Ola and Uber has worked initially, that both were giving a subsidy, they were giving a lot many offers so that the customer is attracted to their platform. Okay, so even two player can engage in competition, but it may happen that Ola and Uber tomorrow collude with each other and increase the prices. Both increase the prices, you will have no choice, or both can decide that rather than charging 20% as the commission, they will charge 50%. Now the driver will have no choice. Both are charging 50%, you will have to go with them. Okay. Now, monopsony is a reverse situation of monopoly. It is a situation when there is only one buyer. There was only one seller, that was monopoly. When there is single buyer or employer with significant market power, that is an example of monopsony. Can you give me an example? The seller are multiple, the many players who are selling, but there is only one buyer. Google, who is the seller? Veg market in evening? No, not a good example. Mobile, there are so many sellers, so many buyers. Private government purchasing. Yes, that's the right answer, Karisma. For example, defense sector. In defense sector, government is the only buyer. There are a lot many suppliers, but government is the only buyer. Okay. Railway, for its component manufacturer. Now, if someone is manufacturing rail wheel, the only company or entity to which it can sell the rail wheel is Indian Railways. It has no other option. Okay. So that is an example of monopsony. What would be oligopsony? Tell me. Based on the terminologies that we have just studied, what should be oligopsony? Yes, there are only a small number of buyers. Monopsony is for buyer. A small number of large buyers dominating the industry. When there is only one, that is monopsony. When there is a small number, that is oligopsony. Example तुम लोग बताओ. What is the example of oligopsony? Again, Zomato and Swiggy are an example of oligopsony for the restaurants. The restaurant have only two options to sell if they want to sell online. Either to sell to Zomato or to Swiggy. Billionaires. ठीक है, not a good example. ठीक है. Crude oil is also an example because you can have only limited number of refineries to which you can sell the crude oil. So there is oligopsony in that case as well. See, those are not the good example. Like if you are thinking in terms of jewelry or like iPhone, only the rich can, even that rich is not a small number. A small number means those which can be counted on fingers. As soon as the number grows beyond 10, 20, it is a fair competition then. That number is big enough now. Yes, Amazon and Flipkart to sell the online products. Discoms, distribution companies, electricity distribution companies. Usually in every states there are limited number of distribution companies. So a power plant has to sell to those distribution companies only if a power plant is producing power. Okay. So that's all that we had to study in the end to solve this question and go home happily. So the correct answer is A. So those who have answered A, but unfortunately it was not good to see a lot many non-A answers were also there. So कुछ तो जो है समझने में दिक्कत रही है या समझाने में दिक्कत रही है. I was expecting more correct answers. Let's learn. See, those who have answered D, मतलब ये तो सबसे गलत है. Like what the question saying? Other things remaining unchanged, market demand for a good might increase. Market demand किसी गुड का कब इंक्रीज होगा? जब प्राइसेस कम होंगे. ये तो ऑब्वियस है, लॉ ऑफ डिमांड ही तो यही है, सिंपल. ठीक है, तो ये चौथा तो होना ही चाहिए. तो अगर किसी ने डी मार्क किया है जिसमें फोर्थ नहीं है, तो ये तो मतलब अपराध है. ठीक है, सो डी इज रूल्ड आउट, 4 हैज टू बी देयर. नाउ these two questions are in terms of substitute and prices. One, price of its substitute increases. चलो, substitute में we had taken the example of tea and coffee. So let's see, टी का प्राइस इंक्रीज हुआ तो लोग कॉफी पियेंगे, सो कॉफी का डिमांड बढ़ जाएगा. So what the question is saying, the demand of a good might increase, so coffee demand is increasing if tea prices are increasing, so 1 should be the answer. B is ruled out. Now let's see at second, price of its complementary increases. Complementary, bat and ball. So say ball is the complementary good, or say bat is the complementary good. So bat prices increases. People will not buy bat, so people will not buy ball either. So ball demand would reduce. Ball demand is reducing, but question is saying the demand would increase, so demand would not increase. So 2 is ruled out. 2 is ruled out. इससे कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ. 2 पे तो हमें विचार ही नहीं करना चाहिए था ideally, because the 2 option that we have eliminated, now the left options do not have 2, so 4 is already there. The only thing we should consider is third. The good is an inferior good. What is the definition of inferior good? These are the goods whose consumption reduces as the income increases. So inferior good and income of the consumers increases. So income if increasing, their demand would reduce. So demand would not increase. So third is also ruled out. Answer would be A. Where is the problem? All the concept we have discussed in the class. Someone is with the name Mad. Okay, I am only getting mad. Something must be there after this. ठीक है, her doubt, his or her doubt is other things remained unchanged means law of demand. ठीक है, see, you have to interpret these things in the context that they have been written. There is no such golden rule that you have to apply it only. I mean, you are going to become an IAS. So an IAS has to apply its mind always. So here other things remaining unchanged means when I am talking of price of substitute increases, I am only thinking of change in price of substitute. Everything else is unchanged. When I am talking of price of its complementary increases, I am only talking in terms of price of its complementary, not anything else. When I am saying the good is an inferior good and income of consumer increases, the only change is income of the consumer. Nothing else is changing. So whatever thing is being said in this statement, only that thing is changing. Nothing else is changing. This is the meaning of other things remaining unchanged. Anyway, you should have come to this interpretation only because law of demand is applicable only in the for statement. Rest, that is never the option. So it means it is saying that only thing which is changing is this, nothing else. This is the meaning of other things remaining unchanged. Is it clear? Option 3 again. See, this was the definition of inferior good. That inferior good, शायद आप last class miss कर गए होंगे. Inferior good is a good whose demand reduces when people's income increases. If you are becoming richer, you will consume less of the course cereal and you will consume more of the pizza burger. Okay, so when people income increases, the demand would reduce. Question is saying the demand should increase. So this is not the answer. Simple. यही तो definition ही है ना. This is the definition of inferior good. So all of you are strongly advised that if you miss any class, definitely watch the recording before coming to the next class. That would be my methodology, that I will always keep on referring to one or the other previous classes. I will take on the PYQs or some questions which will have linkage with the earlier classes, and I would be very happy if you are able to recall those concepts which are there in the earlier classes. This is also a technique of continuously revising things so that it will keep on coming in your current memory. And I would be more happy if you give right answers more often than not. Okay. So that's all. See you again with the next topic, microeconomy. हम यहीं पे conclude करेंगे. We shall not be studying more in microeconomy, and we shall start with the some topic of macroeconomy in the next class. Okay, take care. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.